Learn to listen when it's grown men talking, cause real spit you don't find that often. Every discussion from experience, and hopefully within it delivers some deliverance. It's all facts and opinionated, from the west where that real spit originated. Brothers truly trying to save a soul, provoke thoughts so we can really designate a goal. We on that grown man scribble, the ball in our court with command on the dribble. This is something that'll help the show, cause it's something that'll help us grow. We see exactly what the people need. Now welcome to the show, Spitting Policies. Welcome to the show, Spitting Policies. Welcome to the show, Spitting Policies. Learn to listen when it's grown men talking, cause real spit you don't find that often. Learn to listen when it's grown men talking, cause real spit you don't find that often. Spitting Policies.
Policies.
Policies. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Fellas, are we back? What's today?
What's today?
Day again. Today's what day? What's today?
12. Spitting Policies Day.
Policies Day.
Stay in the guest place.
Hey, just sit and watch for a minute.
Who is this guy?
You stay in the guest. Today, yeah, it is the 12th, but the 12th, this is
Wednesday.
Spitting Policies Day.
Wednesday is Spitting Policies Day.
It's on the calendar.
We forgive you.
The 12th.
We forgive you.
You're forgiven. Barely.
Shit.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back one more again. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate your views. Please do like and share so that someone else can hear. We have a pretty interesting topic today. I think there's something that a lot of us are maybe dealing with, and some of us are dealing with and don't even know. We're going to talk about issues. We're going to tell you the title when we come back. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to go around the room to some of our other hosts, and especially our guest host, and welcome him in to tell us how everything has been and how your week has been since last Spitting Policies Day. Wait, Kevin, I want to pass it to you. I'm going to ask you first, Kevin.
Yes, sir.
Kevin.
Yes.
How has your week been since last Spitting Policies Day?
Man, you know what, Trev? It's been cool overall. You know, you expect, I expect speed bumps, not potholes during the week. So I try to make sure that's how I approach everything. So I'm good. I'm blessed. Can't complain.
All right. God bless.
All the time.
Amen. Okay, so now to my immediate right, I want to ask you, Kanu. Since last Spitting Policies Day. Now, last time you said that you were extremely blessed and things went very well for you last week. Yes. So go ahead and share with us how you've been since last Spitting Policies.
Still fabulous. Oh, yeah. Still fucking fabulous.
I like that energy.
Okay. Yep. Still fabulous. I don't know why I sound like I'm in a dungeon. Do you got effect on my mic? He put effect on my mic. Something.
Reverb.
It sounds like I'm somewhere in the ditch. But I'm telling y'all, I'm talking from the ditch.
That was close.
Yeah, next. Yeah, I'm great, man. You can't get no better than this. And it's only gonna get better. You know, I'm extremely grateful just to be here today.
Yes,
I'm extremely grateful. I'm gonna keep it there.
There it is.
Keeping it 100.
Danish.
Back to you.
Amen. Okay, we have another special host with us, willing and daring to sit in with us as well this week. His name is JT, who's also a part of our show last week. If you hadn't seen it, go ahead and reel it back just a little bit so that you get an idea.
His nickname Boy Toy.
But
go ahead.
Educational.
Well,
JT
can be called Boy Toy if we want to go with that title from last week. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you, JT. And JT, you can tell us how your week has been.
I've had a wonderful week. I'm truly blessed and grateful. Things is looking up, so I'm grateful. Nothing really to boast about, but I can say I'm grateful.
Good.
Yeah, right.
Okay, well, we're glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
as far as I'm concerned with shit, I've had a cool.
I know he didn't know how to lie back.
I don't know why I was waiting. Yeah,
I had a very a trying week, a very testing week, but I'm doing some reverse engineering with God. I know exactly where we're going with this. I know exactly how much better it's going to be. So I'm working back from the future.
Back from the future.
I'm working back from the future. I know exactly what he has planned. So, I just got to praise God while I'm going through it.
That's right.
Yes. So I've been on praying and praising.
Yes.
All right. Now we have a unique topic today. And I think that both genders, men and women, can relate to it or going to be able to relate to it. And we would appreciate it if you do call in or even messages. Leave us a message so we can read it. We'll try to read the comments on the air. But if you do want to get in contact with us, the phone number is 323-900-0478. That's 323-900-0478.
And that's scrolling at the bottom of the screen if you can't see it. Scrolling down there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Daddy issues. We got them. We all got them. Yeah. I'm going to have to fix this.
Go ahead,
No.
You two echoes.
Okay,
I think it's all of us though.
We were dealing with, we're going to talk about daddy issues. Some people that, first off, one of the things that we think about when we think about daddy issues, we also think about it we primarily think about it just being the women. Women having daddy issues. I got to deal with her issues coming into the relationship or what have you. Oftentimes it's because we hear her mouth or we have to deal with some of the things that she does, the way she acts, the way she reacts. But we also have to understand that women oftentimes function on emotions. But also the flip side to the same coin is a lot of us men, we're dealing with some daddy issues.
Yeah.
We're dealing with the absences of our fathers. We're dealing with our fathers not being present, but also some of the adverse effects of accepting that he ain't there or he ain't coming around or he ain't going to be around. Yeah. That also plays a large part of us in relationships, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. We want to be men, true men and things of that nature. But oftentimes, quite a few of the black men in our community, we don't have an example of what a good father, a good dad, a good man may look like. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes, sometimes we fall into a pattern of behaviors with some of the males that are in our lives, whether it be from taking the wrong path, whether it be from the influence of something that was innately within you that impressed you the most. Sometimes it's the big rims and the jewelry and the women that impress you with all the bells and whistles. But oftentimes we overlook the hardworking man that's living with consistency. He doesn't have to look over his shoulder. He doesn't have to carry his heat with him all the time. He doesn't necessarily have to watch his back, but sometimes he gets overlooked. Then you have the other ones that got all the bells and whistles, which is temporal. Sometimes the way they're living is for the now, and that's what young men have a tendency to see. So, it's the flip side to the same coin. Women are dealing with things to their capacity.
Yeah, I like the way he posted that.
Vice versa.
Yeah. I like the way
we're all dealing with some issue, but it's the one of the hardest things about this, in my opinion, is not realizing that you have an issue. Mm-hmm. Some people may have issues and not realize it.
Who
the hell said very well said? That was an echo from God. Okay, I would agree with some of that. Here's the problem that I even have with the title, because it seems that we're blaming psychological issues on the man again. Here we go, blaming men for issues that some woman may have, or I'm not saying that. And preparing for the show, I looked at it and I said, how many black men are absent in the home, or how many black men are there? And to a resounding number of like 80%, 72% of black men are involved in even if they live outside the home, are involved in their children's lives. So I really want to know what caused the daddy issue If 72% of men want to be involved in their children's lives, I think black men in particular, we have a bad rap because they want to call us deadbeat dads. And in this study, it shows that most black men are at the highest when it comes to being effective in their children's lives. Trumping any, no pun intended with the Trump, but trumping any race, any other race. You know what I mean? We are ahead of any other race when it comes to dads being in our children's lives. So because they don't have a thing called mommy issues. You don't hear about it, right? But if it is, we don't hear about it. I'm just speaking up for men today, and I want it to be said that it's not always the issues. Our daddies are not always the ones that don't want to be in a child's life. You know the flack we get from women when we have children with them. Sometimes we're not even allowed to be in their lives. Mm-hmm. So I know the onus falls on the leader, and maybe that's why it's called daddy issues, because men are typically the leaders, and so the onus falls on us. But I'm want to demystify the thing that black men are deadbeat dads, and we're not in our children's lives, and these women are running around psychologically, and men too. But we do see an effect from any absent parent. It could be the mother that's absent. That's why God put two parents to raise a healthy child, but men seem to raise, if it was men by themselves, they seem to, studies say that too. Men raising children by themselves versus women raising children by themselves. It usually the child fares better from a disciplinary perspective, because they're more disciplined. They're less likely to daddy issues, what they call daddy issues. They say most strippers have daddy issues because they're so promiscuous. I'm not saying all strippers are promiscuous, but they live that kind of lifestyle, right? That can lead to promiscuity. Mm-hmm. So I'm saying that if fathers are in their lives, they say that women will have sex later on in life if they had their fathers in their lives versus if they didn't. You know what I mean? This was I delved deep because I really wanted to understand daddy issues. Man, God dang it. Man. It's just like the term toxic masculinity. You don't hear toxic femininity. So I just like some of we got to be given a little grace. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And tell the truth. If you're going to say that men are the cause of this problem, come with some facts. And that's the only thing I'm saying. I mean, this is because I am a father, I think, and I have personal experience where, the mother is attempting to, make you the bad guy. So we're not the bad guys out here. Mm-hmm. But lighter note, what do you all feel that one of the things, if you dated someone, the so-called daddy issues, what are the things that you notice from lack of having her father in her life that you may have noticed, if anything, that you had to deal with?
Always having to reassure her that you love her and you care for her.
Oh, yes.
Always having to say, you in your head, relax, we good. Mm-hmm.
So like abandonment. She probably got some abandonment issues. Yeah. I'm not saying that a man not being there doesn't have an effect. It does. But I'm just saying that we are not always the cause of us not being there.
I think that oftentimes with dealing with a woman that may have some daddy issues, it's the uncertainties and the imbalance. So it's extremely either sweet or extremely sour sometimes. because they don't know how to navigate their emotions and they'll function on their feelings. I believe that some women that have their father have a tendency to have more of an emotional IQ that they can navigate with and being balanced and clearer in their decisions. Because when it comes to you, how she views you is one thing, but it's also crazy that some women believe that jealousy and some form of, whether it be verbal abuse or even physical abuse, it comes across to them as if you care.
Yes.
And that right there is a toxic. It can build up to a toxic relationship that, as an end result, you'll have to break up because you can't move forward in a healthy relationship when someone enjoys the negative or the painful parts of a relationship. And I've seen that happen before in relationships.
Yeah.
Kevin, you want to expand on any of that?
I think too, when there's a balance with father being present, and it go either way for the female or male. The acting out, the yelling, the just that whole thing. I mean, you see that in young men too. They elevate, the voice go real high when it's an issue. And, I think that's when, if it's a father that's present, he can teach that. Just no, wait, hold up. We don't do that. We don't raise our voice.
Yes, we don't.
But they, a lot of women, they mimic the mother. And, if the mother, and I don't want to just say it's ghetto, but I mean, I didn't grow up in the suburbs or in Beverly Hills. So I'm just speaking on, where I know. So, and you see this, you see the videos, you see it in the streets a lot. And you got young men doing the same thing. And it's not, you taking on a trait of your mom.
Yeah, you're trying to solve a problem like your mother or a female would solve the problem,
exactly.
Which is the yelling and screaming really into your emotions.
Yeah.
So that I agree with you. You can, like you were saying, I remember you telling a story. You can tell which young boys when we was coaching, you could tell which young men are being raised by their mothers solely and their fathers not in their life, just by the way they move.
Right. So
most men could understand that.
Yeah.
Keith, if you could load up the clip, but this we talking about. This was what I wish somebody would have told me, and I talked to my dad about this today. If somebody would have told me this,
all that type of bullshit. If she did not grow up with the proper father figure, if she can't past that cheated on me in a relationship, had daddy issues. Never take a woman that has daddy issues serious. What is a woman with the daddy issues? If you meet a woman and you ask her about her dad, and she give you negative feedback about her dad, I don't know him, I don't like him, I don't really talk to him, all that type of bullshit. If she did not grow up with the proper father figure, if she can't respect the masculine leadership element of a man, she will not do it with you, all right? And women with daddy issues tend to be the most sneakiest, freakiest, promiscuous creatures on the planet.
I never realized how much not having a dad affected me. I thought I was fine because they say, right, a daughter's first love is going to be her dad. So if you don't have that love, you don't have an example of what that's supposed to be. And I feel like that happened to me without me realizing. I was looking for love in all the wrong places.
Don't ever date a woman who hates her dad.
There we go. Man, never date a woman that hates her dad or that has a bad relationship with her father or has a high level of disdain for her father. If she talks negatively about her father, I learned this later in life. There is no way for her to respect you if she can't respect that man, which is her father, or whatever male figure that helped raise her in her life.
You have to be at a certain age to have the mental wherewithal and the discipline to not deal with a woman that has daddy issues. Because when you're younger men, they pretty primarily after one thing. That's what comes first. They're also led by the second head. But as you get older, you realize when you look back on the people that, or the women that you've dealt with that may have had toxic relationships. Some women that you didn't communicate with well. Some women that had bad attitudes. Some women that may have cheated on you. Women that have lied to you. When you look back on it at an earlier age and with a little bit more experience, you come to grips with, you know what? She had an issue, but I didn't realize it. But inadvertently, you may have hurt her too. You may have contributed to her pain. You may have added to her issue. You may have added to or patronized her to some capacity with the way you had treated her, because that was something that I'm not going to say she asked for, but you didn't yell, you didn't care that I was talking to somebody else, you didn't raise your voice, you act like you don't care. Oh, you ain't jealous. Like I said before, some of those things in their mind, some people's mind, believe that that's the way it ought to be to prove love or show love. So that's almost what comes first, the chicken or the egg. You have...
I wanted to ask you, I agree with a lot what you're saying. I want to ask you, though, have you ever noticed, like you talking about when we were young, of course, but when in picking even women that you continue to date, have you ever noticed something like you got glimpses of, like, I mean, maybe we wouldn't even call it in daddy issues, like this woman has a bad relationship with her father. I didn't know, or maybe you knew. Did you ever experience that where you just had to cut it off?
Yes. You've been in situations to where you are dealing with a woman and let's say you're just courting. And I'm a big fan of courting. So if she has an issue with her dad or addresses her dad in a certain way, or I want to meet her father or whatnot, and that's being postponed continuously. Yeah. He doesn't necessarily come by or whatever else. At that point, I'm not gonna say it's a red flag for me, but it's kind of like, let's slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, and this is as I got older, because when I was younger, I didn't care too much to meet her daddy, and to be truthfully honest with you, brutally honest, didn't want to meet her dad.
Yeah.
Didn't need to be.
Motherfucker might see through me.
Man, I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah, that's the presence of a dad.
Yeah.
Ooh, you get, motherfucker get antsy in the seat. You know what I'm saying?
Brother, your cousin, none of that. So once you start realizing that at an older age, and you've experienced certain things, it's not necessarily the best situation, but it's how they navigate it. Like I said once before, I don't necessarily care. You guys didn't agree with me at first, but I don't care how you treat me. I don't see how you treat those that despitefully use you, whether it be
why are you bringing up old stuff?
Friends.
Why are you bringing up old stuff?
The reason why I said that is because if you didn't have a solid relationship with your father, and you have a co-parent, if you still are willing to say, you know what, kids, here goes some money to go get your dad something for his birthday. Okay, you know what, my dad, he may be out the way, but this is Christmas and I'm going to go have lunch with him. Or, when you see how she treats the father that may not have been around, the ex or the co-parent that doesn't necessarily participate in his children's life, if that person does good for and with those that may have hurt her, that should give you a glimpse into what a future relationship could be. It's how she handles her hurt, how she handles her pain. Life is only 10% of what happens, but it's 90% of how we respond. And that's what we can own. We can, and we are responsible for that response. So we need to be more proactive. We need to be more responsible in our actions so that it doesn't cause a negative effect later on. We need to think as we move.
Okay, we don't need to real spit right now, but that was good. Woo, that was good. JT, and dealing with, women that you've dated or earlier in your life, not the older women, some of the younger women, because they might have some grandfather issues, not some daddy issues, but some grandfather issues. But dealing with the women that you papa issues, but dealing with those, how did you spot it? Because when I was younger, I wasn't really gauging it. I always thought if a girl had both parents, she was good. But that's not always the case, because she could have hate her father. And when you find a woman like that, do you continue on, or you just sever it at the knees? Today is a good time to answer. Tonight, we only have an hour of the show. But we can come back to you if you want to think about what your answer. You know what I mean? Kevin, you want to? Oh, you ready?
I didn't care.
Huh?
I didn't care. I was there for one reason, to have fun. So I didn't realize that until I got old enough to realize what a real relationship was. And that's why I date older women now, because most of the women my age that I deal with has the daddy issues.
Yeah.
The insecure issues, the issues that, like I said, I don't want to have to always reassure you that I love you, because I ain't saying it every day, all day, or I ain't being affectionate like you want me to be all day.
Women,
women say it ain't nothing wrong to get some roses every once in a while, some type of affection. You can't be a fucking dull rock and just be, they got to give them something.
I get roses.
You get roses.
No, I give roses.
Oh, you get. Well, what about you, Kev? I mean, you was more suave back in the day. You was care about a woman's feelings and everything like that.
You know what? I did not really put a lot into whether a young lady had her dad in her life, because I was just focused on that individual. And then too, we didn't. And then when you don't have a father to teach you, in your life, you learning things, by the men that you see daily.
Yeah.
And they may not be the best example, but if not, growing up, not having a father in my life, he didn't have no choice, so
when you say he didn't have a choice,
his name was called, so he had to go.
Okay. Got you.
Yeah. So, and then when my mom got married again, I was about 15. So him coming in, he didn't have no kids. He was the only child. So it was like, what is he really going to show me? As long as he's respecting and treating my mom right, I wasn't tripping on nothing else. But just like what the video was saying, we weren't looking at those things. We wasn't dissecting like, oh, she got daddy issues, at that time. But as you get older, and you can pick up on it or see, those are safe, especially now for young men, is to have that conversation, like, hey, why, your dad is not in your life, to spare you, because trust and believe, the ones that I were involved with as a grown man and had those issues became my issues. So, yeah, definitely, I learned later on in life.
So do you all feel like, because how they say that, crazy women have the best sex. So do you feel women with daddy issues are more passionate and
No.
I think it would depend on what kind of issues they have with their daddy.
okay.
You know, if your daddy had boundary issues, then that's one thing.
Yeah.
But if your father was the kind of person that always yell or he believed in corporal punishment and things of that nature, it may be different.
I'm a firm
I
believer
think
in corporal punishment.
right. So
Yeah. Never had to give it, but too much. But
right. Well, hell,
they
one
just
time
we used to call it
she made me
spanking
for a
or
little girl.
whooping, but they call it corporal. You know, that's a new thing.
Right. You know,
Make it
so
seem like
it's- and again, something like that isn't necessarily cookie cutter, but it depends on how the woman receives it. You know, and because they're emotional beings, you never know at what point you could trigger something off within them.
Mm.
You can be having an awesome time and a great day or whatever, but you can say something that can trigger her off and you not know it. And she is whether it be in her laying dormant in her subconscious,
Yeah,
she can just go off and look at you like something like you just
it's really wrong.
right, like
Yeah.
and you're not even knowing, and that right there is a painful part. But at the same token, you did trigger her off, even though it wasn't your intention. You did get her upset, even though that wasn't your intention. So if a person themselves know exactly what kind of issues they have within it, they have a better control over it. But again, some people don't know and identify or admit whether they have an issue or not.
So I was having this topic with a friend. I was discussing it with a friend, and he had been languishing. His daughter wasn't even born when he went to prison, so his daughter was like 15 when he got out. But he vowed to spend as much time with his daughter that he could, you know, and he did that. You know, took her shopping spree and everything. But she's seen so many years of how other fathers were engaging with her friends, and she was like, well, my dad doesn't, even though he would hug her, but he would hug her with one arm, kiss her on her forehead. So that lack of just, even though that's still intimate, he didn't give her the big bear hug. And she, you know, and she was willing to tell him, hey, I don't really care for when you do that. I want a full hug. And he said he broke down and cried, man. He said, I hugged my daughter with both arms from then on. So it was beautiful to hear the story because they had a communication and was given the space for her to communicate her feelings. And that's what being a present father is. You know what I mean? I think there's the saying, you rather be present than give presents.
Yeah.
That's more effective than, you know,
Children.
like I gave her, I sent her money from, they don't want to send, they want you in their lives.
Yeah,
they want their
that
time. You spend time with them. I don't
That's
care
how
if
they
it's,
spell love.
yeah.
They say that that's how children spell
Children.
love.
Whether it be
T-I-M-E.
whether it be male or female.
Right.
Now, what do you think that a man, a young man raised without his father has a tendency to be less masculine in his adult life?
To me, it depends on when, because when we were coming up, and you know, because you have friends, that's, you know, including me, it was quite a few of us that didn't have a father in the home, but during those times and those days, you had to be tough. You know, we grew up tough. You know, and so, but these young men that's growing up now and without their dad in their life, you know, a lot of them is subject to be more feminine.
Let's look at, I want to ask you a question on the flip side of that. Do you think that sometimes when men that are absent of their father, they become what they call hyper masculine? So they try to overshow their masculinity.
You see it. You see all of those. All those individuals in today's youth
Yeah.
and young adult.
Yeah, I think it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah. Because like I said, once again, although a lot of times it like says that it's daddy issue, sometimes daddy had to get away from mama.
Yeah. Amen.
Man,
to
I
that.
didn't want to leave my child, but I had to get away from your ass,
Yeah.
Because I see myself going to sit down for a while. If I don't, now because I left you, I still want to be involved in my child's life, but you preventing that. So it's like a lot of men will say, you know what? Hey, if it is what it is. And they're not willing to deal with that mother or go through. And then we don't look at that the courts would ever be on our side.
Yeah.
We always feel that we'll get the short end of the stick. Well, you won't know until you go through it.
Yeah, that's true.
But all of that, you see all of those males in today right now.
As a result, a lot of young men are in jail because they're probably unsound emotionally or don't know how to control their emotions.
Yeah.
So if they're coddled a little bit too much, like you said, sometimes when we go to these sporting events for children, you see a lot of mothers out there rooting for their baby, their boo or whatever. And it's like, the moment he starts crying, she's right there. They do that in the barbershop. They do that in the grocery stores. So if you have a mother that is coddling the little boy too much, or the little girl too much, and spoiling them or overcompensating, then as a result, they could probably lean in that direction because they know that they can get what they want from that particular parent.
Real quick, I also coached football, basketball. I've also, coached my sons. But when we were coaching, what we would do is tell the moms, because you may have one or two fathers that may show up on game day, but the mothers was bringing them back and forth to practice. So we would tell them, look, hold up. When they're on the field, they ours. So you all have to allow that, and then, so, and they was in agreement, even though sometimes they may want to, and you look and like, no, let us handle it. You got 4 or 5 coaches on the field, and all of us had kids on the field. So let us deal with it. Now, when they get in the car with you, that's something different. But as long as they on the field, they belong to us. We're going to protect them. And when it's a situation, they're going to handle it like little young men.
Hey, Keith, if you could load up that last clip, we want to get into and this is just, I know we're landing the plane, but I just want to touch on briefly, and maybe we could all speak on it. And I'm gonna try to speak on it, but I don't know, JT, I don't know your situation with your father, but in watching this clip, if you could just think about if your father being absent, how that affected you. You know what I mean? Being who you are, or growing to be the man you are.
What I see the most is males don't have a father. May lack the balance because they overly emotional or have poor emotional regulation because they may lack the balance because they were overly coddled by the mother. In the family dynamic, there's a balance, okay? Is innately for the woman to provide the nurturing to the home environment. But when the balance and the equilibrium in the home environment is not balanced, and a single parent home and the father is not there, whether he's not there physically or he's not there emotionally, the son, he may have poor impulse control. He may lack that assurance in terms of that masculinity. And that's not to say that has nothing to do with his sexuality. It's just the fact of that assurance in terms of confidence. He needs to being assured of himself and growing into his manhood. What I see the most is males don't have a father.
Yeah, so she basically was talking about some of the things you just mentioned. But JT, I want to ask you, and we never had this conversation, so I don't know how it speaks to you. But if you could speak to that, if you can, you can. But if you can't, just.
So I didn't wasn't raised in a 2-parent home. It was just my mother. But my mother was my dad and my mother because she didn't play. We know now what you call corporal punishment, what we got back then, ain't allowed now. So most of the kids now, like you said, are cuddled. They entitled to everything.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have no discipline, no structure.
Mm-hmm.
Look at one of the relationships I dealt with, the 37-year-old still living at the house, playing video games and smoking weed all day. Plus, I didn't have no daddy issues because my mother always sent me to my grandfather. The skills that you like that I have come from my grandfather teaching me over the summer times. That's why I'm mechanically inclined, because of my grandfather. But yeah, my mother didn't play. She was my dad. On Father's Day, I called my mother and say, "Happy Father's Day."
I would, no disrespect, but I would have to kindly disagree. Mamas are doing that today, and I mean, this is the way I look at it, and no disrespect, and I'm not disrespecting you. When Father's Day come, y'all women have to stop calling yourselves fathers.
Oh yeah,
because this is totally, you're negating a whole half of the important half that helped create your child. Let me keep it calm like that. That helped create your child. And how can you do that for that child to have a whole healthy experience, especially when you have dudes that, like I sit around, that are great fathers, and you guys tend to want to get them out of your children's lives. I don't understand it.
I've seen, however, a few little boys that got their mother something for Father's Day, because the child took it upon themselves to be like, man, my mom's seen me go through X, Y, and Z. I have nobody to turn to, but my mother would have my uncles come over and they'll take me out. Or if my mother didn't know how to tie, I've been in situations to where a young man would, if I show him how to tie a tie or where to put on his cologne and certain things of that nature, he'd be like, man, I've only had my mom up until this point. And they would get some stuff for their moms on Father's Day. I'm taking my mom out. I don't know who my dad is. I don't know where my dad is or whatever else. So it's also been the children that are affected, and we can call it an issue, but they're also saying, "No, man, I got my mom on Father's Day." I've seen little young men. I'm talking about probably under 23. But they would take their moms out, and they just not around their father. Don't see their father. Don't hang out.
Wouldn't you say that's something that's being taught, though? No. That's being taught by social media. Yes, it is. It's being spewed by social media. They're having mothers having Father's Day, and then y'all could say it whatever. Where do they get it from? They don't just pull it out of osmosis. If a parent, one of the half of parents are not allowing the father to be in your life, but I'll be your daddy. Don't worry about your daddy didn't come around today. I'll be your daddy. But you're not telling that child why they daddy not coming around.
Before my father stepped into my life, I was that little boy that I was just telling you about. I was the little boy that took my mom out. I was that little boy that bought something for my mother. I was that little 8-year-old boy with tears in his eyes, getting lied to. I was that little boy that was going to football practice and got my ass whooped. I was that little boy that was going to a high school in Watts, didn't have his daddy. I was a little boy that when they had the football drills and I was laying on my back and they blow the whistle and I get up, I'm the one that's get my ass beat, and my mother sitting there and watch, or didn't even come. I'm the little boy that cooked dinner for my mother on Father's Day. I'm the little boy that got her gifts on Father's Day. I'm the little boy.
She can never fill that role. I'm just saying, y'all may want to look at it. She can never fill that role.
But my point is, nobody influenced me to appreciate my mother for being a parent on Father or Mother's Day. I'm just giving you a different perspective. I'm just giving you a different perspective of what some of the young men that were growing up and don't want to develop an issue as they get older. I showed appreciation for being a parent on that day.
Can I?
So we can take.
We could. Yeah, this show could go for hours because I would like to delve even deeper than that. Like, if you didn't know your father, why? You know what I mean? Why? I don't. Maybe he didn't want to be in your life. I don't know that to be a majority thing that's going on.
My father was around and had 2 more sets of 3 children. And I had just met them after I turned 40. So my father was still out here. I thought he, got deported or whatever else, went back to Belize. But my father was out here, my biological father. So I'm like, man, you really out here? You live not too far away and you're like, what's going on? And when at about a little bit after 30 something, we were at the other side of the family's dinner and a wedding. I'm at the reception and he's just acting like this is my son and whoop, whoop, whoop and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, hey man, I'll put him to the side like, good to that. Like, hey, I don't really know you. So let's kind of tone it down a little bit, right? So I guess it offended him. I said, listen, I don't know what you've done or didn't do, but from this point on, let's just move forward and see how we can do business together and grow together and talk to each other. He got offended when I called him Mr. Graham. Mr. Graham, listen, yada, 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 yada. I'm trying to talk to him. And then he must have said something right before disrespectful about my mother. Man, look, I'll forgive you. Let's just leave that alone. Let's not, I'm your father. I'm like, hey, there's a gentleman by the name of Dr. Paul George Longobardi. That's my father. When's my birthday, sir? Mr. Graham, where have I succeeded and where have I failed? Mr. Graham, when did I graduate? Mr. Graham, what do I do for a living? Mr. Graham. Mm-hmm. So let's just enjoy this time at this wedding reception and move forward. He must have said something about kick my ass. I said, look, man, these my dogs and they ain't got no names. So once I sick them on your ass, I can't call them back. Call my cousin or nephew or your brother and make the fight even.
And
so
I'm saying that may be
I get you, Trev, and all of that. I tip my hat off to you. Even handling that situation with your biological, because that it could have went left. But I also understand what Kanoon's saying is she isn't a man, so she can't teach you how to become a man. But the things that you could get from her is how to respect everyone, especially a woman, because that's your mom. Mm-hmm. I'm a mama's boy, even still to this day, and she's not here. But there's several kinds of mama's boy. It's one of them ones that's pretty much do everything that mom do, mimic her in that way. I love my mom to life. Her protector, whatever, and whatever she needed, that was my job because she didn't have a husband, and I'm her son. So I'm not, I never would let nobody, you get out of line with my mom, you got problems. So yeah, and you're right, Kanoon, we can go deeper and maybe this, we may pick up next week with this because it
should be called mama issues though.
I mean,
Can we
you
ask
want
some
to
of
call
the
it mama
comments,
issues? I'm not.
Can you read a couple of the comments? And,
Yeah, please go ahead. We gonna read them silently?
Yeah, in private, in prayer. I hear you, Trev. I thought Trevor was going to read it. I hear you, Trev. Every situation is not the same. Some boys see what their mother is doing, trying to navigate both roles when the father is not present. There are plenty of fathers who don't want the responsibility. But I would say on average, there are a majority of fathers that do want the responsibility. When you say there are some people that do crack. So we're not going to even talk about them. Purple Keys, I've learned every situation ain't always your situation. No one is saying the mom can or can't fill the role. Maybe the father passed on. I'm saying she can't. Maybe the relationship with the mother didn't succeed, etc. We know because we've had talks on this very show about when it comes to parental rights for the children, the court system leans towards the mother. So we can't sit here and even in our own personal lives, we might have things with our own children where the mother tries to make the man out to be the bad guy. So if we don't learn all the true story, we weren't there. Like I learned when my mother and dad got separated, I was either 2 or 4 years old because I don't even remember. So I just hear stories of how it happened. Those stories of how it happened coming from each person reflects highly on the person it's coming from. My dad may say your mother left and she came home from work and the house was empty. My mother may say that, yeah, your dad, he didn't know how to keep his hands to himself. Whatever story is true, because they always say there's 2 stories and then there's the truth. We never know. So I'm just saying we have to give, especially if we weren't there, we want to, and most male children, they love their mothers. And I'm just saying, you're gonna protect your mother because you feel like you have to. But your mother may not, just like parents think their children are totally innocent. Most children think their parents could do no wrong. And you never know. When my mother was 17 and my dad was 18 when they had me. So were they even of the mental fortitude to even, carry on a healthy relationship and,
Purple Keys just said something to that effect.
Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying we have to be vigilant. And my stance is you need 2 parents to raise a healthy child. If the other parent is not there, you do have to substitute something, a male energy, or if the woman is absent, you have to substitute a female energy. Yeah, that's my take on it. Mm-hmm. You can end it out, Trevor. My mic is echoing.
Stay into the song.
Real spit. They say one of the quotes that I have for myself is being a father is the toughest job you'll ever love. Being a parent is probably the toughest job you'll ever love, because what you're doing is also preparing your child to be in a healthy relationship. And once we start to think about the seeds that we are planting into our children, that can also contribute to a healthy or a painful future in terms of our community. What I've learned recently is because of so many fathers that have fought for their children, as a result, it's catching a wave, and I'm seeing more and more young men and fathers taking on the roles and the responsibilities of being a parent. Like Kanoom said earlier, even though it's disproportionate, African American men are also highly involved. Like he said, 72% involved in their child's lives. So if any parent wants to be involved in a child's life, as long as it's not a chance of it being detrimental to the child, I believe that it would be our responsibility as the co-parent to allow that child to see, understand, communicate, and spend time with that parent, and let the child find out for themselves how that parent is without you saying anything negative or anything positive about the parent. Just always tell the truth and be truthful with the child and effectively communicate with them. So, if we want to have a better future, if we want to have a more collective community, let's start watching over our children and watch over the seeds that we plant in their spirits. Until next Spitting Policies, we see you guys next week. This has been a great conversation. Thank you for your messages. We'll see you next Spitting Policies Day.
You want a part 2? Press 2.